So, yeah, thank you, Pat and David, to be here. So, I'll start with, I think, the most, burning question that this is to you, Pat, that first it was pandemic and now it's the impending recession, which has been having a big blow on the printing industry. Do you agree? So I would like to know your opinion about what has changed over time and how printers are gearing up to be back at their business.
So, Nidhi, I think that one of the things we know about the printing industry is that the announcement of its death is almost constant. If I go back to the 1980s and 1990s, we were all sure that there would be no print by the time we got to 2000. That somehow magically, well, I mean, certainly packaging would be printed, but like all the other print was going to go away magically because it was going to go to our phones or it was going to go to electronic paper. And here we are in 2022, and paper and print communication is more important than ever before. And printed packaging has gotten to be a more important part of the brand messaging of the products that they surround, in terms of personalization, in terms of color, in terms of regionalization and localization. So for me, it has the pandemic and is the potential of a recession. Are they blows to printing? I got to tell you, it might be for some printers the end of the line, but for an awful lot of printers, they are really good at finding opportunities and finding ways to find the products that their clients need to stay relevant in their markets. Remember, we're a manufacturing business that supports other businesses, right? We don't print just to print, right? You might say graphic art, art prints are, but for the most part, the print we do has purpose, right? It's serving a need. So I don't know that I'd be declaring the death of it yet, because every time we turn around, there are new potential markets, there's new print products. And if you look at all the data in the market right now, it tells us that all these kids coming up in the market, the sort of the end of the millennials, the Gen Zers and whatever's coming after them, they actually like print. They like the touch of it. They like the feel of it. All the evidence shows us that reading on paper is more, you get more cognizance out of it than out reading on a screen. I'm sorry. I'm not a believer that it's dead.
Well, and I would say if we're going to look at packaging, not only is packaging dead, packaging is going through a kind of a renaissance. I mean, packaging growth is projected to be about $50 billion by 2030. Now, when we say packaging, we have to understand that we're not just packaging. There's lots of different kinds of packaging. There's primary packaging, secondary packaging, different types, different formats, etc. But that having been said, in each of the areas, there is growth, and fairly significant growth. In some areas, even more so. And so I think that, as Pat said, I think that packaging is becoming branding or brand messaging for a lot of consumer product companies, a lot of product ownership, and what's happening as a result of that is that they're putting money into the social messaging and the other kinds of print messaging. They're putting their messaging on the box, on the package, and actually taking that and expanding how that is even interfacing with all sorts of other communication medium. So it's packaging growth is. I'm not worried about it. Not at all.
The market finally figured out that packaging is a billboard. And if you treat it like a billboard, it becomes part of your overall scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That interesting brings me to my next question, David, that we have been seeing the continuous growth of the short-term packaging orders, which includes like highly personalized labels, folding cartons, corrugated packaging, among others. Do you think that this emergence is, or this increase or shift in the consumer demand is due to the emergence of new and efficient digital presses? Or do you think it's just because of the changing consumer demand? So more of e-commerce packaging is coming up, more of personalized packaging is coming up. What do you think, David?
Yeah, it's a combination of both.
Or think is overall?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. There's no doubt that, and you know, it's the chicken or egg thing, which comes first. The market is changing. It was changing before the pandemic. The way people bought things, the way people looked at how to buy things, the decision making that they were going through has changed. And as Pat was speaking before, I mean, I've done a lot of research on this, and you know, as you start to look at how people are holding companies accountable for what they do, what they buy, et cetera, we're starting to see more and more smaller companies actually beginning to gain a lot of ground, so much so that the bigger companies are actually starting to get a little, I would say, concerned, and in some cases either acquiring them or trying to mimic what these smaller companies are doing. You know, onshoring is becoming more of an issue. So another reason why we're going to have shorter runs and things like that. So they're looking for different ways to do this. And yeah, you need to be able to facilitate this through packaging and through packaging production. So again, I think that it's not really about whether it's digital packaging or digital production or analog production. It's a matter of what is going to be the production, what are we going to be selling, how are we going to be packaging it, and what is going to resonate with the market.
Right. And we know that the market is interested in green stories. And one of the things that happens, you know, traditionally packaging was done in massive runs and warehoused and then shipped wherever it was needed as it was, you know, in large batches, but as it was needed. And there's less appetite for that kind of approach to manufacturing. Now it's a lot, I think, short run, it becomes part of that green story. Print what you need when you need it, and only keep as much as you need so you don't have to send things that have expired by time or messaging into the recycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I just want to...
We both have touched a very important topic, that there is a lot of convergence happening in the industry, right? So many of the commercial printers or the printers who have worked previously in other segments are now reutilizing their presses or maybe expanding their investments on presses so that they can be part of this changing momentum or gaining momentum of the packaging industry, be it corrugated, flexible, labeling and all that. So do you think this convergence is leading to probably a cross-segment expansion of printing services? What do you think?
We did some studies on that. I did some studies with that with Marco Bohr a couple of years ago on this convergence, the concept of convergence. And in certain areas, convergence makes sense. In other areas, not so much. Just because there's packaging growth and you have a press doesn't mean you can necessarily do packaging. Yes, you can, you know, folding carton. Well, if I've got an offset press, I've got a cut sheet, you know, a big cut sheet press, I can probably get into folding cartons. Doesn't mean I'm going to get anybody to buy them because I'm not in that market. So how am I going to get into the market to be able to get somebody to buy it? And then I can go ahead and produce it. And then, of course, there's the whole other kind of hidden animal that most people who have never gotten into it don't even understand, which is it's not about the print. It's about the finishing. It's about all the all the converting. That's why they call them packaging converters. They're converting print into something. And that's not for the faint of heart. It's not just buying equipment. It's understanding what's involved in it as well.
Yep.
Exactly. No, rightly said. So very interesting. I think this discussion is really going wonderful. Now, uh, I know that several web to pack. Now let's touch the topic of web to pack, which is today's discussion. That I know there are several web to pack solution providers which are claiming them that everyone, I mean, let's say including packaging designers, as you said, David, the converters, the buyers and producers, everyone is going to benefit from this highly automated and standardized processes which are introduced by these solutions. And uh, it is said to be eliminating the need for correction cycles and lot of manual coordination processes. So that means by automating the pre-press work, by implementing a web-to-print solution, the converters may no longer need to maintain their own pre-press department, and it can save them a lot of time and cost, which sounds promising. But I wonder that are these web-to-text solutions relevant? Do you think personalization and online ordering is going to stay there for long? That too for a complex industry like packaging, where anything related to it, which is like preparing the die lines, the plates, estimating a job, or meeting the precise, the criterias and finishing options is, as David rightly said, it's not just buying the machinery, it's knowing the game you play, right? So do you think in such a case, in such a complex industry, the solutions like web to pack or web to print are relevant? Over
So,
to you.
Nidhi, here's the thing that I would say to you. I think Dave and I are going to sound like grumpy old people, because on the one hand, I will tell you that Web 2, web to print, web to pack, web to something, there is a place for it in the market. Because it's automation. And if you've ever heard David do webinars and stand up at Inkjet Summit and all the other places that he stands up, automation is a big part of the story. We know automation is essential to the health of print manufacturing, because the only way to solve labor shortages is with automation, or one of the main ways. So I think there's definitely a place for it, but it's not it's not it's not magic. I think that's the best word. It is not magic. If you've ever been to a magic show, you know that it all looks really cool. We pull the rabbit out of the hat. We make the elephant disappear. We cut the person in half. It all looks just so amazing. But the hard work that goes behind making it look easy is really pretty intense. You don't wake up one morning, look at a YouTube video and saw somebody in half. It just doesn't work that way. And web to pack is the same thing. You don't just wake up one morning and go, hey, I've got a press. I know where to buy some packaging stock. I'm going into the packaging business, because as David said, there's all this ecosystem infrastructure, right? That web to pack piece, the ability to capture an order in a digital storefront and then execute an automated workflow, is a piece of this big puzzle that starts with your ability to invest in the right finishing and converting equipment, train your salespeople to be able to sell it to customers they may or may not have ever dealt with before. So I think I'm really optimistic, but I'm really, really cautious. Dave?
Yeah, so being an old guy, I was there at the beginning when we had the Web 2, right? That was back in the day. I remember when the first Web 2 product showed up at Siebold, and it was the production of business cards.
1990s.
All right, so production of business cards. It's a constrained design. It's a constrained size. It's a constrained design of a product, etc. And for something like that, it works like a champ. Later on in life, I started doing some work with what is now Simpress, and they've been very successful in the Web 2 market. Why have they been successful in the Web 2 market? Not because they make pretty websites, because they understand that the products they're selling are constrained. They're limited to the products they know that they can produce on a regular basis with minimal change in production techniques, and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. That's where Web 2 makes sense. And it's no different in packaging. You know, it's interesting. It's not just about the even the type of package. You know, I take a look at EPAC. Great example. EPAC is probably the largest, most distributed manufacturer of short run, on demand, flexible packaging. They don't have an online site. Why don't they have an online site? Because they found that there are too many variables. The people who, you know, they're making granola in their living room or in their kitchen, and now they want to order a package. They don't know how to do the package. They don't understand what it is. You know, I was speaking to somebody who has a flexible packaging company in England, and he said, yeah, people come to me and they said, yeah, I want a package that'll hold 5 pounds. And he said, well, 5 pounds of what? Is it 5 pounds of bolts? Is it 5 pounds of feathers? What is it? Because based on that, it's going to be a very different package. So
it absolutely is.
I have a question. I have a question here, that there are then other side of the people who have actually implemented this systems very, beautifully, and it has worked with them. So if you see companies like Petlin or Buybox or some other, they have given, right, they have a certain segment of customers who are standardized. For example, now e-commerce packaging is very common these days, right?
Sure.
There are, it's not just the Amazon. It's like a flood of Amazons everywhere, right? Many local companies shipping locally, some of them shipping globally, right? And they have very standard specifications of these boxes. Now, let's say if I need 500 boxes, and if I can go onto a website, I can either upload my file or my logo and I order those maybe 500, 5,000 or 500,000 boxes. That makes my life easy, right? And for someone selling packaging or someone who is doing the manufacturing, and if it's a predefined model, don't you think that this overall process of eliminating the hard work of creating the artwork pre-flight and then creating the die lines goes away with web to pack? So there are companies who have been doing it for the specialty packaging, I could say.
Absolutely, Nidhi. Look, as I said, Cimpress has done a great job with their constrained, limited product selection. If you go to any of the web-to-pack companies that are existing today, or look at any of the web-to-pack software, there are limitations. There are limitations to the type of box, to the size of the box. Not that the graphics are easy. You know, that's easy. Drop my dog here. Yeah, exactly. Sure, you can do that, and that makes perfect sense. Just understand that there are going to be limitations to what you can do in terms of your box. And if we go back and yes, it will make sense for a percentage, and I'm not going to say a large percentage, I'm just going to say a percentage of the kinds of packaging that goes out there. But if we go back to what we said at the very beginning, which is packaging is really kind of the brand marketing for a company, one of the things that they're going to start looking at is they're going to say, well, yeah, I like the fact that I have, 30 different kinds of boxes I can choose from of different sizes, and it's all this type of a box, but that's not what I want, because I want to be different and I want to stand out. And all of a sudden, that doesn't make any sense at all for web to pack.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to have to draw boxes around what kind of market you can go after. And not every printer is going to have the right mindset to do it. But for those that do, there is definitely an opportunity for them to expand their market.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, if you're already in packaging, And I've spoken to a lot of people who are already doing corrugated or folding carton, and they've implemented web to pack, or they've worked with other companies who are kind of acting as digital brokers, if you will, who've put up a website with software on it and are then funneling the work off to them, and then they're funneling it off to others. Yeah, there's no doubt that there's a place for it, but I think that, you know, one of the prime, I guess, motivators or examples is take a look at the real large packaging companies, the real large ones, right? They're not doing web to pack. They can't justify it. You know, you know, even when you start to look at, okay, well, what if we do have a more limited supply? I was talking to a guy who's been doing a company who makes beer carriers, you know, like the 6-pack carriers and boxes, etc. And they make those things day and night, been doing it for 100 years or whatever, right? And they tried to get involved in the web to pack. They put up a website. They know what, I mean, they know what they need because this is what they do for a living. But they found that the people, you know, the brewers, the home brewers, the craft brewers, etc., just couldn't figure out, well, if I put the picture this way and then this one this way, how's it going to all come together? And they wound up spending more time in the back fixing it than they theoretically should have. So you don't want to put web to pack in just to drive more hands-on production in the back. You want it so that it can run straight through
automation.
But you're going to have to be, but as we said, it's going to be a limitation to it.
Yes. And I think then put the things to automation that can go through the standard process, and then do the specialty jobs, and you can focus on it. So in fact, do you think that offload whatever the automation can do to automation? So let's say if you are doing a plethora of packaging solutions and packaging services, maybe automate 20 of your packaging solutions that doesn't need a manual intervention. Those are common, regular day jobs. Automate them so that you free up your resources to take on and serve those, specialty jobs. I think that is where I have spoken to a lot of our customers, lot of, as I was speaking about convergence. So a lot of our customers who have not entered packaging but are very interested and keen to learn this segment and be a part of this growth have been, trying to do this, that automate whatever you can, right? Yeah. So that the system does the part of the job where you don't need to put your resources, free up your resources and put it there where you can do the specialty work for your customers. So that's how I can see the implementation of.
Nidhi, do it in the right order, because what you just said is really important. So make sure you've got the automation in place first before you put up the website that says you're going to do web to pack or web to print or web to anything else. Because I've worked with clients who have done it the other way around, and it turns really bad really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Because people who are ordering print on the web they're less educated than a print buyer for a brand, which means your website has got to be as completely locked down in terms of you can order from this template. Here are the options we give you. If you need something else, hit this button and send us an email and we'll have a conversation, but we're not ordering it on the web and trying to run it through automation.
Exactly. And that doesn't discount the importance of the automation in the back end. If I look at automation, and I always tend to look at it more holistically, there's automation of onboarding, right? Of order onboarding. That's the Web 2 piece, right? But once you get past the onboarding part, the whole back end can be automated. All you need to do is normalize the variety of input that you're getting. And that's a big part of it, because most printers, I go to printers, they'll have 3 different Web 2 solutions, right? 3 different ones, and they're all kind of Web 2 print, right? but they're three different ones. Why? Because either it was because of timing or because of the kind of clients or the kinds of products that they're trying to put up. And as they bring that in, it all needs to be normalized anyway. Doesn't affect the back end, because once you normalize it, the back end, you can automate the hell out of that process.
Mhm.
Yes.